All right, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. The event is called Giving Thanks to Oracle's Planning and Cloud Service. My name is David, and I'll be introducing you to today's session. Today, we're going to talk about the newest features of PBCS. And this session is the first of a monthly series where we're going to explore what Oracle releases to PBCS every month. Today we'll be taking a deeper dive into the November update. We've taken the time to review this update so that you don't have to. Be sure to come back next month to see what's in store for December. For those of you who may not know, eCapital Advisors is an award-winning consultancy in the areas of data management, advisory services, business intelligence, cloud applications, and solutions for the Office of Finance. eCapital's Oracle practice focuses on Oracle Business Intelligence and Hyperion Enterprise Performance Management. In addition to strategic consulting and system implementation services, eCapital Advisors offers prepackaged starter programs such as our Hyperion Upgrade Acceleration Program and our Cloud Enablement Kit. Contact us today to create your cloud with eCapital Advisors or check out the resources area of our website at eCapitalAdvisors.com for all kinds of helpful content. Case studies, videos, archived webinars, free ebooks, and more. For today's webinar, we are pleased to be joined by Bob Ussett, a senior management consultant at eCapital Advisors, and Ryan Kohler, a manager at eCapital Advisors specializing in Oracle technology. Bob is an Oracle implementation expert with degrees in both information system and finance from the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. Bob has been working on Oracle Hyperion implementations since 2010. During this time, Bob has delivered several Hyperion implementations for a variety of industries, including healthcare, financial services, retail, and consumer products. We also have Ryan, who has successfully implemented a variety of complex allocation models, driver-based strategic forecasting and budgeting systems, and operational reporting solutions. Ryan's area of expertise includes supply chain, healthcare, and manufacturing. For the last 7 years, Ryan has been providing S-based planning, FDMEE, and other Oracle technology solutions to some of North America's most innovative companies. We encourage all attendees to post questions and comments for Bob and Ryan at any time during the webinar. Questions can be asked through the chat window located in the GoToWebinar control module. We will address your questions during the Q&A period following the presentation. If you want to find out more about eCapital Advisors or how we can assist your organization with Oracle Planning and Budgeting Cloud Service, please contact us through our website at eCapitalAdvisors.com. Once again, this is an interactive forum, so please feel free to pose questions or comments at any time during the webinar. I'm excited to bring in Ryan and Bob from eCapital headquarters in Minneapolis. Bob and Ryan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, David. Much appreciated. So as David mentioned, this is the first installment of many to come for eCapital's PBCS monthly update webinars. So again, these are going to be scheduled on a monthly basis, and we're really going to be running through the new features, bug fixes, some other nice-to-know tricks and tips for our end users out there, so that you are going to be ready to go for the time that all these new updates get pushed into your new environment. So we encourage everybody to mark your calendars for future installments and look forward to the continued webinars. In today's webinar, we're going to just, as a quick reminder, a refresher for those of you who may be new to PBCS, just a quick overview of exactly what it is. Then move into the new features for the November release and some nice need-to-know components for PBCS that we feel are important to all users in the PBCS community. So first of all, as a quick reminder, what is PBCS? That's Oracle's Planning, Budgeting, Cloud Services. Really, PBCS is really Hyperion planning and S-based technology on the cloud. So it's Oracle's best-in-class budgeting and planning services. With PBCS, the end user will get a simplified interface as well as an advanced interface for more of your technical user bases. Nice financial reporting via PDF or HTML, variety of options there. Also reporting through SmartView like you would have it in the past, which is really great features there. A variety of input processes via calculated driver-based input for your forecast and your budget, as well as nice dashboards that are easy to create via PBCS. So I know, we've talked about PBCS in this webinar, and we will continue to in future webinars. But I think another thing that's important to point out to everyone here is that ePBCS is now available. So the E in front there stands for enterprise. It's really more of a holistic approach here. So ePBCS is similar to PBCS in that it's still best-in-class forecasting and budgeting tool sets. Some things that separate ePBCS from PBCS, though, is really the out-of-the-box solutions. So with PBCS, you're really getting the opportunity to create your own application from scratch. But with ePBCS, you're really able to get out-of-the-box workforce, CapEx, project planning, and other financial statements that are really Oracle's delivery from out of the box standpoint. What this can really do is help align the entire organization with your planning process. So with some of these out-of-the-box solutions, you can identify where planning processes connect and try to streamline some of that data movement, calculations, and ultimately kind of share that data throughout the organization. So ePBCS is also a very related field here and a great way to kind of combine all of the different offices in your organization. So now moving on to the November release specific information. The next section here, we're going to cover the new features that were included in the November release. So here is just a quick reminder of what that communication from Oracle looks like on a monthly basis. So if you are an existing PBCS or ePBCS customer, you will receive a communication directly from Oracle, including a PDF document. This is kind of the cover sheet of that document, just giving you the release readiness guide with a nice table of contents here where you can kind of skim through that quickly. And remember, we'll do all the rest of the work for you, so feel free to continue to attend our monthly webinars to learn the details behind each of these components. The first one we're going to talk about today is the ability to suppress invalid scenario period combinations. So this really is specific to applications that leverage rolling forecasts. So rolling forecast is an option that you can enable when creating an application. So you must make sure that that is an application that has rolling forecasts enabled. For those of us who may not be familiar with the concept of rolling forecasts, it's really getting away from a traditional monthly forecast or quarterly forecast perspective, coupled with a annual budget. So you really have kind of two separate data sets there that you're managing and comparing to at the same time. The concept of rolling forecast is really looking at a continuous forecast/budgeting process that may be a constant 12-month or a 12 period, could be an 18-month, could be a 24-month, and then maybe an additional 2 years that are at a higher level with maybe only quarterly values, something like that. But what this new feature allows the setup for an application to do is actually suppress the invalid scenario time periods for some of those future years. So this is a great way for you to set up your input process within PBCS to make it more dynamic moving forward and support those rolling forecast scenarios without a ton of maintenance in the back end. So again, a nice feature here that for those of us who are leveraging rolling forecasts is something that's definitely something that I would encourage you to look at. The next feature for the November release is going to be something Calc Manager specific, and this is going to be the ability to hide specific prompts. So whenever you're using a variable within a business rule in Calc Manager, a lot of times you'll be adding that business rule to a data form or input process within PBCS. When a user submits data through an input form, we want that variable to pick things up dynamically. So actually look at the context or the point of view and not actually have to enter in prompts when actually submitting that data. Obviously, there's a variety of ways to get around this today, but this feature in the November release is specific to variables that are a string as number type. So if you look at the screenshots here, that first one up top, you'll notice the type is string as number. And when you select a variable type that is string as number, you'll see a couple check marks show up below this. And when you click Use System Defaults, it's going to by default then always hide this for you. So what that's going to do is any of these variables that you create as a type string as number, it's going to automatically hide that prompt for you, so you don't have to worry about the maintenance around that. Maybe when you add that to an input form, or something around those angles there. So a great feature here for Calc Manager for those of us who use any string as number variable types. Just kind of helps streamline the overall process of setting up that input process. Another feature that is Calc Manager related, specific to business rules, that was included in the November release is actually around EPBCS, so that enterprise version. So as I mentioned before, EPBCS really provides the end user with the ability to leverage out-of-the-box solutions, specific to workforce, CapEx, project planning, things of that nature. With that, calculations come prepackaged as well. Traditionally, when you're looking at an on-prem workforce model implementation, a lot of times you will need the ability to customize some of those quote-unquote out-of-the-box calculations that are included. When you start to modify those, though, there's not a default option for you to keep and restore the factory business rules that were out of the box. With this feature here, it's going to automatically save off those out-of-the-box business rules, so that if any time you need to reference what they were initially or even revert back to them, you're always able to then access them and redeploy the factory business rules, which is a great feature for testing and needing to restore an application. So that's really the last feature around business rules here in the November release. The next piece here is actually, I suppose this is also related to business rules a little bit. This is around Groovy scripts and the ability to write log info to the job console. So you're probably asking yourself, what are Groovy scripts? I'll be honest, I don't have a whole lot of experience with Groovy scripting myself, but Groovy scripting is a newer language similar to Jython or Ruby, and it really opens up a bunch of new possibilities here for an Oracle developer. So basically, I'll give some background on the way you can leverage Groovy scripting with PBCS business rules first, and then just kind of talk about the logging update here. But really what we're looking at here is PBCS is going to give you basically two functions, that Calc Manager Groovy string and Calc Manager Groovy number, that allow you then to actually create custom defined functions or CDFs directly from a business rule that reference an external Groovy script. So obviously you'll use the string function when the output would return a string. If the output from your CDF would return a number, you would use the number function here. But what this is really doing is it's making sure that you have reliable scripting for your CDF that that you've kind of written yourself, so you don't have to worry about any third-party custom-defined functions that are promising to do one thing and may or may not actually do them. The second thing here is all of the back-end pieces that integrate with Java, for example. So like a run Java function and the jar files that you would traditionally need to set up on the server itself. In PBCS, all this is set up for you. So migrating from one environment to the next is very seamless. You don't have to worry about inconsistencies when moving between environments there. So that's kind of the background on Groovy itself. The specific update here, though, is really around how Groovy CDFs are logged in the system. So traditionally, anytime there's a custom-defined function or a CDF, that's called via a business rule, it's going to be the log output for that will be somewhere in a back-end file path that you may or may not have access to control. With these new Groovy script write log info update, you're actually going to get that in the job console, so easier for you to access, more of a centralized location for you there, which I think can help, when troubleshooting some of these new enhancements. So I've kind of covered the first few, really specific to Calc Manager and things of that nature. I'm going to pass it on to Bob here now, and he's going to go into some more of the more technical updates here within the November release.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, so just to talk about the rest of the updates that we're getting in November here, or that we've gotten in November. They should have been applied to your environment last week. The first one here is an update to EPM Automate. So there is a new version out there for EPM Automate, and it's going to give you a new function to get the substitution variables out of your plan type. So you can see it there. You just pass that get subvar, and you can specify if you want all of your variables, if you want them by certain plan type or anything like that. You're able to just basically echo that out of your system, and you could possibly use that with systems that you're integrating within your environment. So for example, if you only wanted to load a current year, you could use this function to get the current year that you have set in your subvars and possibly use that in automation processes that you have with other systems to only pull that specified data that you're looking for. So, but it would require you to update your EPM Automate utility that you have installed. Another thing that it did do is the error codes that are associated with any errors that come through the tool have also been updated. So the numbers basically have been shifted. So basically an error code that was 0 is now 1 and was 2 is now 3 basically. That seems to be the general idea of what they did there. That can be important within your automation if you have automation that looks for very specific error codes to maybe notify you in some way. It's something that would be good to review within your environment before you actually experience an issue and you wouldn't recognize that in possibly your automation processes. Another thing to note here, and we will cover this later in the presentation as well, is Oracle will no longer support the old version of EPM Automate. So if for whatever reason you did have an issue with the utility, wasn't working properly or anything like that, the first thing that Oracle support will ask you to do is to upgrade to the newer version of EPM Automate. So again, just to get ahead of any issues that you may have around that, it would make sense to just upgrade that utility. And again, I will cover what that looks like and what that would mean later on in the presentation here. So another feature that we now have within the November release is the ability to actually clear data within your application right from the simplified interface. So you can see with this video here, it's just under Application and Overview. And then you go to the Actions button in the same place that you would manually import or export your metadata. There's now an option there to clear the cube. So within this, you can create different saves of the data that you want to clear. You would just simply give it a name. So you would name it just something that you'd be able to reference later and is very clear to you. And then you would just pick your cube or plan type that you would like to clear. And then you notice on the bottom there's 5 different options for the type of data that you would like to clear. So basically you just save these as your options, and you would then have them available for you to execute at will basically when you would need them. A couple of call outs for this is the clears on this are going to be clears for that whole application or plan type. So we're not going to be able to say clear just the budget scenario or something like that, or clear the forecast scenario. That unfortunately we don't. It's not that targeted. So still to do clears like that, we would likely still need to leverage Calc scripts to make those type of data clears. But a big area where this can come into play is through a migration process. If you have migrations, especially down to like your test environment that you want to test different things, clearing your data out with this, is a great way to make sure that you have the latest and greatest data set in there. Hopefully there will be another release coming soon to kind of target some of these clears to make them more specific to scenario. But baby steps here, we at least have the ability in some way to clear the data through the simplified interface. Another new feature, and this is really just a new feature to the FR web version. So this was always available to us with the locally installed desktop version of Financial Reporting Studio. But now within the web, we have the ability to save row and column templates, save and use row and column templates in our reporting, which for people that aren't familiar with this is a great way to have a default view, look and feel, you could say, between all of your reports. So if you know in all your reports you have very common set of information, just basically it can sometimes help to level set your user base, to what they're going to see on reporting as they flip from one to the other. It's a really easy way to get that report set up and ready to go. Very quickly and easily create new reports that are needed within the system. So again, a function we've always had available to us for people that are familiar with the desktop version of the Studio, but is now also available within the web. Another thing that you'll get in November here is some more member selection options within SmartView. So you can see, this member selection can be made whether you're doing member selection within your POV members or just doing member selections within your active worksheet within the Excel grid. It works the same way. So kind of the image here for account is on the left. The last option you would have there is level 0 descendants. With the November release, what you should see now, you'll have different options to grab different levels, generations, and a UDA option as well. And you don't need to make any update to SmartView or anything. This will actually happen if you went into your environment now and looked at this. You'd actually see all of these options available. So again, just a little tweak that we have now within our member selection when we're using SmartView here to just have more filtering options for our ad hoc capabilities. So that kind of will wrap up the new features that are available in this month. I wanted to take some time to just highlight some important things I really think that we need to be aware of as part of this release. The first thing that I think is very important for us to call out is Oracle has notified us that there will no longer be support of the Reporting Studio that's installed on a desktop version starting in May of next year. So this is very important for users that have always only used this desktop version to make any edits to any type of reporting that's been set up. The impact of this should be very minimal. So you can log in if you have PBCS now. You're able to log in through that Navigator tab, and down under the reporting you have the Reporting Web Studio. That's always been enabled. You have the ability to do that now. When you open that up, you will notice that it's very, very similar to what you have through the desktop option, the desktop install. There's some slight changes on where you may click on things or how to enable certain features within the tool itself once it is opened up. But there may be a slight curve to learning where some of those distinct clicks may be different. I would recommend anyone that does have FR reports today, and that obviously there's always a need to modify those. Start using your Reporting Studio now and work out any bugs that you may see before that May release, just to get ready for when that time comes. You just want to be ready, because again, in May of next year, so in a couple months here, that it's no longer supported to use that desktop version. So we're going to want to start getting familiar with the web interface. So as we were saying before, there is also the new version of EPM Automate that gives us that new function and the change in the error codes. And again, the old version will not be supported by Oracle. So if you have questions, you will need to install it. Installing it is very easy to do that. Within the simplified interface, there's just a drop down that will have where your name is, and there's a download. Right then and there, the first thing that's on there is EPM Automate, so you can download it for Windows. If you're installing it to a Windows server, to your personal laptop. There's also a Linux version if you have it there. Important to know, if you are running it off your local machine, to make sure you install it there. But I know we recommend having a central, server or, desktop in some way that's running this just for, centralized scripting that you can do for automation. Make sure you just go in and update that one as well, just so you're running the same version on all of them. But it's very easy to install. I've tested almost all the functions, if not all the functions, in the new version and the old version, and nothing has seemed to change, or I haven't been able to find any bugs with that update. But you can always install it on your machine and test it, connecting to your test environment, before doing anything in your production environment. But again, highly recommend going through this process, validating this, because again, Oracle support isn't going to be there for the old version. The first thing they're going to tell you to do is to update. So you're better to do it now than in a situation where you're going to be under fire in a crunch in an issue situation. Another thing I want to point out here is if you ever needed to hold a release, just wanted to give some information on that. So there may be situations where or the release is going to fall on a date or time that really just doesn't work well for your business process. So maybe it's a quarter end or year end. You have major planning milestones or reporting milestones that you need to hit in that time frame. If you, for whatever reason, needed to hold a release, it is fairly simple to do this. So really all you have to do is you have to submit a ticket with Oracle. So you do that the same way you would submit any ticket through their Oracle support help desk. The more time you're going to give them, the better. They do need to engage a development team to make this happen. So, if you submit a ticket and the release is about to go live in an hour, there's a good chance that you won't hit it. If you gave them a 24-hour notice, I would think that they would be able to make that work. But again, the more time you can give Oracle, the better off we will all be for that. You basically just submit a ticket. They're going to need a reason for why you are not going to want to go live. So whether it be you don't trust a piece of the release, or you just don't want to introduce the risk to your environment because, again, you have major milestones that you need to hit during that time frame. As long as you give a reason and a valid reason, it's likely going to be accepted by Oracle. So after that's all said and done and you're through that major milestone, one thing that Oracle will want to do and you would likely want to do as well is you would want to pick a new date to go to the release before the next month comes. You just want to do that just so they're basically patching your environment for one release at a time, and we're not introducing multiple variables into each release that's coming through for that month. So again, just to ensure that their process is very similar and easy to follow from one month to the next, where they're just doing one patch at a time, you're going to want to follow that same process as well, just to ensure a smooth release, for the next set of updates that you're going to get to your environment. So really, that is the November release. Again, we've taken the time to kind of go through these releases so you don't have to. I urge you to go out to our eCapital website and look up this presentation we just went over here and take a look at our Cloud Enablement Kits for some options available to you, whether it be to create new applications and what options could be for that, or if it would even be to try to implement any of the changes that we talked about or will talk about in upcoming webinars here. But yeah, it's just an opportunity for you to just kind of take away and see what other options you have. The website there, the direct link to the kit is on the bottom of the slide, so please feel free to go out to our website to review that. And with that, we will open it up for any questions that people have.
All right. Thanks, Bob. Like Bob said, now we will open it up for questions. Just as a reminder, if you want to submit questions, please do so within the questions area of the GoToWebinar control module. As we wait for questions to roll in, we'd like to let you know a little bit more about eCapital Advisors. eCapital Advisors services use a proven results-based methodology to ensure success. eCapital applies years of accounting, technology, and project management experience to your business and process, creating customized business and analytics solutions that match your needs. eCapital doesn't just provide you the solutions, they educate you on how to utilize them in the most effective way possible. eCapital Advisors wants you to feel smarter, more prepared, and empowered to succeed. And whatever the need, they have the services and consultants ready to help integrate them into your business. eCapital Advisors is an Oracle Gold partner working with some of the most innovative companies in North America. I encourage you to check out the blog at eCapitalAdvisors.com and subscribe to our news and events at eCapitalAdvisors.com/subscribe. And it looks like we do have a couple questions here. The first one we have is, how far in advance do you need to let Oracle know to hold a production migration?
Yeah, so as we kind of covered in the previous slide, so they're very responsive. You know, it's especially going to depend. You know, if you make it a sub 1 ticket, they'll obviously be more responsive on that. I would highly recommend, you know, joining these webinars in the future where we're going to give you an idea of what's going on, and we can let you know if we think there's any risks to the release that's being brought out. But I would say we should try to give at least 48 hours to Oracle to make this happen. I know from experience that they can make it happen in less time than that, but just to make sure, you know, give us some wiggle room around some of that area, I would say as a default we should just say 48 hours, knowing that in a crunch that they would be able to supply, you know, rollback in a shorter time frame.
Thanks, Bob. Next question we have, is the simplified interface available with EPBCS?
Yeah, great question. So the simplified interface is certainly available with both PBCS and EPBCS. There's actually been even some rumors, and we may cover this in a future release or future webinar covering releases, around EPBCS trying to go towards a simplified interface focus only. So actually trying to eliminate any of the advanced interface functionality and really push people to the simplified interface, as that's really the future direction for Oracle.
All right. Next question we have here is, do all of the EPBCS modules come with factory business rules?
Yeah, good question. So all of them do. So each of the prepackaged modules that come with EPBCS would come with customized factory business rules there. Again, we say customized as there's certain things you can do, but ultimately we've found that most organizations still need to apply some updates to them. But you do have a great starting point for all of those different type of modules.
All right, thanks, Ryan. And it looks like we have one more. Are there material differences between the user interface for EPBCS and PBCS?
Sure, yeah, I can take that one too, David. So I wouldn't say there's any material differences, but there are certainly some small differences here and there. You know, nothing major. Again, especially if you're trying to use the simplified interface with both of them, I think you'd be able to translate any of your knowledge from PBCS to EPBCS very easily.
All right. Well, that concludes the Q&A portion of the event. If you want to learn more about the capabilities of the Oracle Planning and Budgeting Cloud Service or our Cloud Enablement Kit, please reach out to us through our website at eCapitalAdvisors.com, and we'll have a member of our customer care team assist you with any questions you may have. We also invite you to follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. If you want a recap of this webinar, it'll be up on YouTube shortly. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and thank you to Bob and Ryan for presenting. Don't forget to keep an eye out for December's update webinar, and we'll see you guys then. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.